The Hawkesbury River is a vast river system with a total catchment area of over 21,000 square kilometres. It's filled with inlets, mangroves, national parks, and in 1943, during World War II, it was the secret training ground for a group of commandos to embark on a daring and incredibly dangerous mission known as Operation Jaywick. Hidden within the waterways, Refuge Bay became the training ground and secret camp for the highly classified mission. The plan was to use an ex-Japanese fishing vessel, renamed the Kite, to sail from Australia up into enemy territory. It was a covert operation designed both as a propaganda mission and to disable Japanese shipping by blowing up ships moored in Singapore harbour. The Kite would fly the Japanese flag, use remote islands as cover, and take the final stages of the mission on specially designed kayaks called foalboats under the cover of night. It was a huge risk, and no one knew if they could succeed and make it home alive.
People here don't realise what a significant role this area played in the initial stages of Operation Jaywick.
It was Greg Berry who initiated the new memorial and rededication in 2018.
I was a 20-year-old midshipman doing a course at HMAS Penguin, and that was probably the first time, even though I joined as a sailor, it was the first time I'd walked into the wardroom. And in the main foyer there was a painting that sat up high on the wall, and it was a sort of painting, it was quite haunting. It was a smaller vessel being shadowed by a Japanese ship. But every time I walked into the wardroom, it caught my eye. And eventually I asked somebody what it was about, and they said, oh, that's something to do with Operation Jaywick. Now, I'd not heard anything of Operation Jaywick, and it was in the days before the internet and Google, and there weren't too many books on it, so it sort of sat in the background for a while. And then when I joined the unit here in 2000, I learned that there was a fellow who had been on Operation Jaywick who lived in the area. That's Horace Young.
Horace Young was the leading telegraphist on board the Kite for Operation Jaywick. He also became a local to the Central Coast.
My father was originally born in Western Australia, and he moved from Western Australia to Sydney when he was 16 years of age. He was working for the post office. He had quite a good reputation as a telegraphist. He was young, he was only 21 years of age, and he just got married. He had a child on the way, and I don't think he had any idea what he was getting himself in for.
And in 2003, Alan Draper took us out on a run around Brisbane Water, and Horry and his wife came along. And we sat down in the saloon there, and I suppose I asked a fairly stupid question, really. I said, hey, Horry, I said, you won't believe this. There's this really haunting painting in the wardroom at HMAS Penguin, and it's a Japanese cruiser shadowing a small boat, and I now know it's the Kite. And he said, oh yeah, I remember that. He said, we're on our way back from Singapore. And he said, what they did, the commando said, rigged bombs through the vessel, and if that cruiser hadn't have left them, they were going to steer the Kite into it and detonate and take the cruiser with them. Well, they didn't have to do that. They came back and it ended up one of the most successful commando operations run.
I didn't really know anything about it, not until Kite actually came back, was refurbished and sailed from Cairns back to Sydney in 1964 for Anzac Day. I think I was about 14 or something, and that's when I started to hear and understand what it was all about. You know, they were trying to stay out of sight. They were on 12-hour shifts, there was no sleep. Not much water or food. The rations were running fairly low, and wondering whether the crew were going to actually meet up with them after the raid was over. He had a lot of love for that vessel. He said of his whole time during the war, the 6.5 years he was in the Navy, the Kite was the happiest ship that he ever served on.
Having visited a number of memorials around the country, including an Operation Jaywick memorial at Exmouth, I came back and I thought, well, that's it, no, it's got to be done. So how do I get it done? Now, I know what I want to do, but how do I actually get this job done? So it's where I was fortunate to meet a member of the Rotary Club of Erina, where I know that there's two ladies there in particular who are exceptional organisers, and I asked the club if they would be interested in helping do the renovation project, and thankfully Gillian Winchester put her hand up, and I thought, beauty, I know this lady's going to do the job. So I was quite happy to stand back and let Gillian Winchester and Gillian Lay run the project, because I knew it would happen. So it was a matter of just organising, getting a team together who could get the funds to put that in, and now it's reality.
Greg asked me would I help him, so then I got lumbered with trying to raise funds and applied for a grant from the New South Wales government. We wanted to create a reflective garden around the memorial where people, passers-by, members of the community could come and sit down and reflect on these very brave men who were involved with the Jaywick and Ramau expedition. We did a rededication ceremony back in last September.
They enlisted visual artist Andrew Nichols to create the sculpture, memorial garden and storyboard.
So in the end, they chose a block system with a canoe on the top, and I just brought out the natural rock strata, using the strata for the waves. So the canoe is sort of pushing along. This fault line here is the iron line, which is very tough. So it made a great wave, it made a great use of a wave, coming up and lapping up to the top and then going down on the canoe. The iron lines are all over here, so the best thing, and I sort of use them for waves, sort of lapping on the other side of the canoe, just to finish off the back. So the canoe is quite protected in the sculpture. They put themselves through a grueling mission to get to Singapore by foal boat and then get back on the crate and get back alive is something to be remembered.
Due to the success of the first mission, a second bigger operation was planned, Operation Ramau. This was much more ambitious and involved 15 one-man motorised submersible canoes, known as Sleeping Beauties. Unfortunately, this mission was not successful, and all 23 members of the crew died, in action or by execution.
So in 2003, the initial dedication was really important to Dad because he put so much of his lifetime work into Crite, raising money for its restoration, spending time here, the significance of Refuge Bay and the whole area. It meant a lot to him personally. I think he felt like it was part of his life's mission to kind of make sure that they didn't die in vain. Dad would be incredibly impressed. He'd be grateful that the crew of Jaywick are still being remembered and honoured for what they've done. And I was pretty moved and a bit emotional by it all. So yeah, I think it's amazing. It's just amazing. Very grateful to the people that are responsible for it. It's just remembering the sacrifices that these people have made for the life that we're living today.
This memorial offers a place to reflect and appreciate the daring efforts of the men involved in these incredible missions. It offers an opportunity to engage in their story and to learn more about the significance and history of this area.